All right. Well, good afternoon, morning, evening, depending on where you are. Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Hale. I have the privilege of serving as director of the Office of New Student Programs. We're really excited to welcome you all today. We are going to get started here soon. We have a quick slideshow that we're going to take everyone through to just give some insight into the different people on the panel, and then we are going to allow you all to ask questions. I will be monitoring the chat, so if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. And without further ado, I want to turn it over to our new illustrious Director of Religious Life here, Catherine Lester Bacon, who I've had the privilege to work with over the last year. Catherine, take it away.
Thank you. So I am loving seeing some of these names in here because I work with them, and I am so grateful to be the Director of Religious Life at Duke Chapel. I started September 1st last year, so what a first year, and it is a real passion of mine to connect the students who are trying to dig more into their heart and spirit in the midst of the Duke life that's telling you to kind of hurdle full speed ahead into your futures, and the people who are pausing to spend time with their own spirits and hearts. I believe firmly in that meaningful and valuable work. And so I love connecting students with the leaders and the people from the community who are also trying to walk with them through that work of meaning making and spirit searching and purpose seeking. So I'm so glad here to have a chance to share some of the stories and hear some responses from the students who have stepped up to be panelists, and grateful for the invitation from Jordan Hale during this orientation experience. And I know some people are here live, some people will be here recording, some people will be watching from Duke campus, some people will be watching from their parents' home, their own apartment, many different places, but we are all entering into the spirit of the academic year. And so just very glad to have a chance to gather around some of these questions and some of these responses that we're going to hear today. If you would ever like to reach me, you can go through chapel.duke.edu, and I'm happy to connect you to anybody within religious life. We also have a lot of information on that website there. So feel free to reach out if you are so interested. And I don't know if we have several people here today, and so I'm really glad to have Kate Evans, who is with the Episcopal Center, class of 2021, as you can see there. And we'll go through. Jordan, are you going to just go through the slides, or do you want me to read them?
Yep, I'm gonna click through, and then if the folks who, when their picture pops up, just feel free to introduce yourselves, and then we'll jump into questions.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kate. Excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Jake. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm student pastor of Duke Wesley Fellowship, which is a United Methodist ministry.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm a senior. I'm the president of JSU, the Jewish Student Union. And yeah, I'm excited to be here for any questions you may have now or later.
Hi everyone, I'm Gracie. I'm with Duke AIB and I'm their small group coordinator this year. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm so happy to be here.
Hey everyone, my name's Stephanie, she, her, hers, and I'm a part of Duke Crew, a Christian ministry on campus.
Hi, I'm Trevor Fowler, rising senior this year, and I'm representing RUF.
So I'm going to start by asking a few questions to our panelists for each of them to answer. And then we'll also have a chance for you all to drop questions into the chat. So we'll kind of do a both and those questions can be for anyone. They can also be directed at one or two people if you would so like. So I'm gonna just go down through some of our panelists and ask you to tell me about how you all got connected to religious life at Duke, and what is it about the environment of Duke that's made religious life a particularly meaningful and vibrant part of your campus life, or just in the campus life in general? So I'm gonna throw that first to Stephanie. How did you get connected to religious life at Duke, and why has it been more meaningful for you?
Yeah, so I came into Duke knowing that I wanted to get involved in religious life, and I was looking for a campus ministry. And so it was through the Religious Life Fair at the beginning of the year, and then O Week events. I actually heard about Crew from my roommate, who was like, I heard about this on other campuses, like we should go check it out. And so it was through O Week that I got connected. And I've found my time in Crew to be really impactful because I think having like an early mentorship kind of start out was really helpful with older students learning how to navigate campus. That was really impactful. And I think campus ministries as a whole like really facilitate community and are a great way to meet people from different areas on campus, just different people that I wouldn't be interacting with in my classes otherwise. So those are probably the main reasons why I found Religious Life and Crew to be a huge part of my Duke experience.
Sarah Jacobs, how did you get connected and why is it meaningful for you?
Yeah, so similar to Stephanie, I think during a week I kind of jumped right in, met our amazing rabbi, Rabbi Alana, and all the staff of Jewish Life at Duke. And we also have a JFAM mentorship program. So essentially that's you get paired with an upperclassman as a freshman. So that was really nice to kind of already have that connection and feel welcome when I went to the Freeman Center for Jewish Life. And I think I went to the first Shabbat for O Week and the rest is history, essentially. I have really found my home with Jewish Life on campus through academics, through friends, through activities, through social life. It's really kind of my central hub and where I feel most at home.
Thank you. Jake Derry.
Yeah, I got involved with Wesley like Stephanie. I found my group at the fair and then later attended as a small group that's just for freshmen, which really helped engage in what freshmen deal with when we're first getting on campus, because it's a unique experience to come on campus for the first time. And it's great to be able to talk about it with a group as you're coming onto campus. So that was really great for like helping me get involved into campus ministry. And I think Duke has a great environment for like religious life, because a lot of spaces with religious life are often exclusive to certain groups of people, especially queer people. And I think Duke at least clear that queer students are welcome in those spaces.
Thank you. Kate Evans.
Yeah, I think similar to what others have said, I found my religious life space, the Episcopal Center. I was looking for it. I got a letter in the mail. As an incoming freshman, we always send notes to all incoming freshmen who identify as Episcopalian, and then we end up getting a lot of other people who are just questioning their faith, because it's a really inclusive community, as all the others have said. But I found the Episcopal Center because I wanted a place that I could just kind of reflect and be in community. Duke is a really exciting and wonderful place, but many spaces at Duke don't allow for a lot of time to reflect. And I've always found my religious community to be a great place to sort of recharge at Duke. And so I hope a lot of incoming freshmen can find that as well, whether it's at the Episcopal Center or one of the other wonderful groups.
And then Gracie.
Yeah, so similarly to a lot of people, Religious Life Fair, Facebook, and all the different outreach methods is how I got introduced to religious life at Duke. I found Asian InterVarsity when an upperclassman reached out to me over the summer, and then quickly got connected with them. I would say religious life has been important in my experience at Duke, because similar to what other people have said, Duke is very like go, 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 you know? Sometimes there's not a lot of time to just think and to care for the spirit and to yeah, just reflect on faith in general. And with AIB, I felt like from the get-go, I found people who were genuinely caring for my soul and genuinely caring for my spiritual health, amongst other things. And yeah, I found a lot of my closest friends through just the first couple of weeks of freshman year through getting connected. So yeah, I hope that all the incoming freshmen can find a fellowship or a religious group that can really tend to their needs. And the amazing thing about Religious Life at Duke, I think, is that there's so much variety. There's so much variety. There's so many different organizations. So you'll definitely find one that works for you.
And Trevor.
Yeah, I also came into Duke knowing that I was interested in joining a Christian ministry. But I was thinking I would shop around and try to figure out which one would fit best. But I think I ended up finding a flyer, going to one RUF event, and just being amazed at how welcoming and loving everybody was. So I didn't even look further. I just stuck with RUF, and it's been fantastic. One of the things I love about RUF is that everybody's there to be committed to honoring God and loving one another, which is awesome and something you don't always see elsewhere.
Well, and while I will just name too, is while the chapel is, this center place in campus and is very much a, historically Christian institution, as well as holds worship services every Sunday, the people that we welcome and support are actually a broad range of interfaith, interreligious participants and leaders. And so we have a wonderful Hindu chaplain, Madhu Sharma, and Joshua Salam is our chaplain through the Center for Muslim Life. And they're just Francesca Morphesis from the Buddhist meditation community. So I do encourage you, we have many Christian groups who are doing such dedicated honoring work, as well as those who are from other faiths besides Christianity, who are just bringing their beautiful, deep selves into this work and meaning making on campus. So the chapel actually itself works to be a host that is expansive and hospitable in way, not just for Christian communities, but also for all groups on campus. And so there are student groups and people who represent a wide range of faith and practices. So I encourage you, if you're incoming, to explore the ways that you might dig deeper into a community, and even if it's one that you might not expect. So the next question I wanted to ask you all is, a lot of people think, you've kind of started to touch on this, but I'd love to dig a little deeper. A lot of people think that religious life is something that you just do like separate from the classroom. It's something that you keep, it's just about things that are about your spirit. It doesn't integrate at all with your mind or the things that you do that might look good on a resume or get you a GPA. And so I would like to hear you all, how you've kind of done some work of integrating these different disciplines and priorities in your life, and how you connected your religious studies with your coursework and your academic pursuits. And I will ask, Gracie, can you go first?
I feel like I have to think on this a little bit, but the first thing that comes to my mind is, first, I believe that the mind and the spirit and the heart are all connected, even with your physical body. And so I didn't really come to that realization until college, I think. Like before college, it was just like religious life and then school. But then now that all of those things are happening in the same physical location, I was kind of forced to face like, okay, like why, how can I connect my faith to my work as a student? In terms of choosing what I studied as well, like I thought about, okay, how do my beliefs play into what I want to do with my life after college? And yeah, I think I have a little bit more reflection to do on that personally, but I really believe that Duke Religious Life has a lot to offer in allowing you to think more about those things. For me, one of those spaces was the Center for Christianity Studies. They offer a lot of like house courses that don't really count for credit, but they beg a lot of questions about faith, academics, faith in the university. They invite a lot of cool people. There's also a lot of faculty members who are themselves involved in religious life in one way or another. And so getting to talk to those people has also been a very fruitful part of my religious life experience at Duke.
Trevor, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, I think Gracie hit on a super important point. When I was coming to college, Christianity was like one of the things I did. I ran track, I was a Boy Scout, and I was a Christian. It was sort of in the mix on top, maybe. But over the years at Duke, to as the foundation for everything that I do. So I understand my work now in all of my classes as working towards who God wants me to be, and how I can contribute to society and the church through my work. Also, classes like philosophy, psychology, economics, you're going to take with professors who don't all have the same worldview as each other or have the same worldview as you. So sometimes in those classes, there's going to be times when you need to really wrestle with how do the things that I'm learning in class fit into my bigger picture worldview, or how do I maybe need to adjust what I believe or qualify what I'm learning to be consistent. So it's sometimes a challenging journey, but a very important one.
Thank you. Sarah Jacobs, Monsieur.
Yeah, so I am an international comparative studies major with a focus on the Middle East. And what I love most about the Middle East is all of the different religious diversity. So when I study Jewish studies, which I have the Jewish studies certificate, which is kind of like a minor, but a little bit different, I often like to kind of add in that aspect of comparative religion. So I've taken other religious courses as well through the religion major, and that's been really interesting to kind of add to my cultural studies as well. And with the Department of Jewish Studies, it's very cool because they can fund you for various trips. So for example, this was my semester abroad this past spring, before COVID ruined it. But I was in Jerusalem studying at Hebrew University, and that was all supported by the Center for Jewish Studies, which was great. And they often bring in speakers and all different things like that. There's always something going on. So if you're interested in that in any way, it's a great place.
Kate Evans. Are you able to? No, she's had a bit of spotty Wi-Fi, so I will come back to her. Jake Derry.
Yeah, I think there are two parts of how religious life has like intersected with my life at school. One is how my faith life and prayer life has sort of it strengthens your ability to work hard in school. So being able to set time apart where you're able to focus on how your heart is, how your soul is, really helps you engage more fully into what you're learning. And then second, specifically in Duke Wesley, and I'm sure in other fellowships as well, we engage a lot with how to make us whole people. So not only do we focus on like our faith journey is incorporated into like what we do in school, and trying to see how our Christian ethics sort of intersect with what we're doing in the classroom. Especially for me, I major in computer science, so engaging technology and the questions that technology asks in a view of how we want the world to be, how we want technology to affect the world.
Stephanie.
Yeah, as far as yeah, I think going into college, I had never been in a place where my faith was I had ownership over my faith, and coming into college, like that was a huge change where with a college schedule, with different opportunities every day, like I was able to really make my faith my own. And so with that, it really became, like Trevor said, a foundation for how I navigate my classwork, my decisions for my future career. I also found religious life a great way to navigate pressures from just what it is to be a Duke student, whether it's busyness or as a freshman, you hear effortless perfection a lot, like that pressure or navigating comparison. And even other things that come along with just living life in proximity with other people, like conflict resolution was something really important that I learned about. And then like what it looks like to live in community with other people within Cru. Like that was a huge thing, a huge learning curve for me too. I think with classes, yeah, it's really difficult to separate my faith from my classes, and having those conversations with my peers, whether they're in Cru or not in Cru, was really great to even look at what's happening in the world. I know within Cru, we have been talking a lot about this period of racial reconciliation, and we are looking at reading a book together about how do we address this from a perspective, from a Christian perspective. I'll also throw out that the Center for Christianity and Scholarship is huge, and many of my close friends have found that to be really helpful in engaging their like academic life and spiritual life.
Thank you. And Kate Evans, are you able to answer the question, what has your religious studies, how's it helped to shape your coursework and your academic pursuits?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm a little in and out with the audio, but I'm doing my best. But from what I've heard, I definitely agree with what's been said in terms of my community really helping me thrive academically by being a great support system. And I think by being really supportive as you question what you're learning or exploring other faiths. I think that's been really great, is in my classes getting to learn about faiths different from mine. So I guess I would encourage everyone to just use your academics to explore other things that you're not familiar with as well, and use your support community to make it even better. So yeah, sorry I'm a little in and out, but I'll hopefully continue to participate.
We've all been there. So, well, I see there's a number of people who work here as well as are just calling in. And so if you want to drop some questions in the chat, feel free. And we will ask those in a bit. I would also just want to ask, we are in this, you all have mentioned this strange season of protest and pandemic, and life has just been turned upside down, and so many of our norms have just been wiped away, whether we were abroad or near home or wherever we find ourselves right now, whether you're coming to campus as a freshman or you are staying with your family. This is not what any of us expected. And so as you all think about what your own faith practices or spiritual disciplines or religious communities, how they've been shaping you through this time, I'm wondering what has that been like? What has that been like to go through this particular season of illness and protest and frustration and everything being turned upside down with your community, with your religious life group, and with just people perhaps who even aren't part of your group, but maybe who are part of a different group? What have the conversations been like? What has been meaningful for you? And I'm actually going to let you all, I'm not going to call on you for this, so we might have a little bit of crosstalk, but just unmute yourself and talk, the panelists, and we'll see what you all say. So
I can start. I think with the pandemic, having churches go virtual was really impactful. Not having a physical gathering was definitely an adjustment. And I think I've definitely felt this, and friends that I've talked to have definitely felt this, but there is like a loss of community. And so my religious life group, Cru, was really impactful in maintaining community. Since I've spent the summer in Durham, I've been able to see them, and having that group of people to continue watching church with, having accountability with, going through Bible studies with has been really good. I think in college, you're often as a college student, you're often in this weird middle ground with churches, which will become a bigger part of your life in the future. But it's hard to be invested in a church while you're a college student. And I think that is a space that campus ministries really respond to, where they can talk to you about what it's like to be a college student. And so having these conversations during the pandemic about leaving Duke was so sudden, and it felt like Duke feels like home for all of us. What was that like? Or coming back and not, as a senior, not being back on campus, like what was that like? How is that impacting us? And being challenged also in my community to consider what is God doing? Why, like, where is my faith in this season of turbulence? So.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think one great thing about being a part of a faith community of mostly undergraduate students, as is the case at the Episcopal Center, is that we can all talk about our faith in this context, which I think Stephanie was kind of talking about as well. Having people that know exactly how you're feeling and being able to sort of discuss your faith and reconcile that with people that know exactly how you feel is a really special thing, unique to campus ministry, I think, because what I loved about Church at Home was that I got to talk to all different generations. And then when I got to school, it was the opposite. But in a moment like this, where our feelings are intense and unique and confusing, it's been really, really great to have the Episcopal Center to talk to. And I'll also just add for freshmen that I've been really pleasantly surprised how well virtual services have worked. So do give it a try in any of the groups. I was pretty skeptical, and it's been really great. So do try it.
I can add to that. So, at the Freeman Center for Jewish Life, there are services, singing for Shabbat, and then services, and then dinner every Friday. And when everything happened, JLD immediately went online and actually continued services throughout the entire summer. So every single Friday, we were able to gather over Zoom with our families also, which was really nice to kind of bring everyone together and maintain that sense of community, even though we were all over the place. And it's been nice to definitely continue that, and it'll be continuing into the fall as well. We can all still gather as students and sometimes with our families as well. And also just having that place to learn and study Jewish texts about racial justice and protest, and just kind of diving into what our tradition has to say about what everything is going on right now has been very helpful as well.
Go ahead, Jake.
Okay. Yeah, just to go off what Sarah was saying, Duke Wesley also continued through the summer. Like it's important for campus ministries to be flexible, especially during these times, which are always changing. In another way, we continue to have important discussions about racial justice, especially because our organization is mostly white, and it's important to name that and engage with whiteness because it exists. And I think that has been really impactful on our group and making sure that our connections are growing deeper in a time where we're physically separated.
Yeah, AIV also continued all of the things we usually do as soon as the pandemic hit. And for me and for a lot of people, I think it was nice to have that intentional community stay somewhat stable when everything around us, every week, every day, seemed like there was something new happening. And especially in response to the pandemic, I know I personally was asking a lot of questions on, where can I place my hope? What can I truly depend on, and having other peers with me tackle those questions together and see what Jesus can say about those things was really nice for me to have. In response to all of the racial injustice that has been highlighted this season, something AIV does is we're an ethnic specific ministry. So we very intentionally ask questions about faith, race, ethnicity, and all the intersections of those things. And so as an Asian ethnic specific ministry, this season was very influential for me to ask, as an Asian American, our role in the racial context of America is very unique. And so talking about Asian Americanness and how that connects with our faith, and how Jesus would want us as Asian American Christians to respond to racial injustice has been a very growing, or it's been a conversation that has helped me really think and really grow.
Yeah, and personally for me, RUF has been a great part of, probably the best part of virtual anything, honestly. Praying together, continuing to talk and play games over Zoom when we can. The COVID and racial injustice context has also got us talking a lot about what we can do personally to help, and also helped us experience and understand that God is in control of everything, and realize that we are not, which is a sort of a humbling thing.
Yes, virtual, I know, I can speak for the religious life leaders. Virtual is not the first and last way they would like to meet all incoming freshmen, but they are happy to use any technological means necessary to reach out to those who would like to connect with them. And there are so many different offerings that I've seen religious life leaders pivot to offering online, whether it's the Shabbat services from Rabbi Alana, or the Juma prayers from Chaplain Joshua, or the meditation, or the Catholic Mass with Father Mike. There are just many different places that are figuring out ways to be deeply meaningful in a virtual technological context, with the hopes that we will gather again in person. But in the meantime, there are ways that we can nurture our spirits in this time. So yes, I loved hearing that there are ways that you all have been surprised that technology can still connect you and deepen you and broaden you. And so all incoming freshmen, I encourage you to explore how that might happen with your own religious life groups and commitments as you explore what that might be. I would also just love to hear from all of you all who have been around the block here at Duke. Nothing is perfect. And so when you reflect, we talked a little bit about this from your own group, but when you reflect on religious life at Duke, spiritual commitments at Duke, what would you like to see changed? When you think about what's happening on campus with religious life, what do you think would make it even better? What would strengthen it? What was something that you would like to revise in some way? And I'll leave this open to anyone who would like to answer. And sorry, any of the panelists who'd like to answer at this time.
I think in a lot of people's minds, there's sort of a division between religious people and non-religious people. And the reality is that all of our worldviews have some basis that is unprovable. Whether you don't believe God even exists, that's a statement of faith. Whether we believe God exists, there's faith in that. And so I think that there's a popular idea in the Duke community that makes it hard for religious and non-religious people to have a dialogue of that nature, and recognizing that we all have some faith in our worldview would be an important improvement for us to make as a community.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I would add, sorry, am I cutting out? Is it okay? Okay. That I think it'd be awesome if all of our religious groups were in conversation with each other more as well. Just because it's easy to get siloed once you kind of find your people and find your services that speak to you. But these conversations can be really powerful when we're challenged, or even when we're just learning. So I think one goal, it's difficult in this virtual world, but one great goal for this year would be for us to have some more events that allow us to have open dialogue with each other as well.
I would
Yeah.
say, oh, go ahead, Gracie.
Jake, you and I keep.
I know.
Okay, well.
On the same wavelength.
Yeah. For me, I think one of my favorite parts about religious life at Duke is One Roof. And One Roof is where all the Christian organizations come together for a night of prayer and worship. And just to echo what Kate said, I would also enjoy spaces where we could do that with different religious groups as well, just to learn from each other and really listen and just to have great conversations with each other. And so that's something that I would like to see.
And I would like to highlight that it's important for us as religious life organizations, a lot of which are mostly white, to make sure that we are inclusive to people of color and inclusive to queer people, especially because a lot of the faith communities that we come from can have leadership that is anti-queer and can are organizations that are predominantly white, which means that conversations don't include people of color or even include conversations about whiteness. So I think that is something important that like religious organizations should be really engaging closely.
I think bouncing off of Jake's point, being responsive to what students are asking for is a really big thing, whether that is social justice or just being responsive to what it's like to be a Duke student and Duke student commitments. So I think there's a tension between like challenging Duke students and being responsive to that. But I would love to see organizations start to lean more in that direction.
All right, and I would love to hear what is a space on campus that you all feel spiritually connected? And I ask this knowing that campus is going to look very different, campus life is going to look very different, but this season will not last forever. And so at some point, I do believe, in the next 4 years of the freshman's time, they will be able to experience the same places on campus that you're going to name now. And so I'd love to have kind of put that hope out there and that vision. What are places that you all have felt very spiritually meaningful in your time on campus, and if it's changed over the time? I'll let it popcorn. So.
I would say anywhere that we're doing large group worship is where I feel most connected. Jesus says where 2 or 3 are gathering in my name, that he's with us there. So there's no particular place like the gardens or the chapel where I feel most connected. It's really the community.
Just as you said that you said something about the gardens, and I mean that's what I wrote down as the place that I feel most comfortable. Even I love my alone time with God deeply, and in the gardens I feel just connected to the beautiful world that God made. Especially when I'm alone with God and I have time to think with Him, to think with God alone. Yeah.
I will also echo that like gathering spaces for me on campus were really, I think powerful spiritual places like Nelson Music Room will just always be one of those places on East Campus. The Div School, I've just had so many conversations in Div Cafe early in the morning that have really stuck with me. And then I think just places where like my community on campus would always go. Like I love the Cohen Atrium, and there's a spot in Kville where my tent was where we would have prayer as a friend group every Sunday night, and like that will always be special to me.
To echo all of this, wherever my community is, that's where I felt at least communally, spiritually connect the most. But personally, for my individual self, there is this prayer room in the Div School. It's like kind of tucked away in a corner. I discovered it this year, and I can't believe I just discovered it my sophomore year. But inside, there are books of prayers written by people that have used that space, and there are prayers written in different languages. There are prayers in the forms of like drawings, and it was just so beautiful to sit there and pray for myself, and also just read these prayers that people have willingly shared and documented in that space. And so personally, I really like the Div School prayer room. I don't know if it's called the prayer room, but there is like a room there.
For me, I would definitely say Freeman, which is the Freeman Center for Jewish Life and our Hillel here at Duke. It's a gorgeous building. There's lots of hangout spaces, and it's where we have services and also eat meals. And you can still pick up the food from the Freeman Center, I think, by ordering on the app this year. So that's good. So you can have a little taste of home. And I think other spaces include places where I've hosted different either Shabbat services, or we do like a host your own Seder for Passover or other holidays. So different places on campus where I've made those memories with my friends, both Jewish and not. Those are really meaningful to me as well.
Does anyone else want to share? I'll name one thing, and again, this is all in flux now because of coronavirus and social distancing and the protocols we're keeping in place to keep each other safe. But the chapel in past seasons has been open for student prayer. We are exploring ways that we can do that in a safe way. But it is not a building that is typically closed. It is a place that is actually open in normal times. And there are also wonderful little spaces scattered across campus that there's actually a project to map them, because students have found these spaces and have made them their own. There is the Mosaic in Kohen. There is a Buddhist and Hindu prayer room, as well as a Muslim prayer room in the Bryant Center. The Freeman Center has beautiful prayer spaces. There's a place on the Oasis on East Campus. And so that information is kind of getting collected, because students have really found and claimed and made a lot of spiritually significant spaces on campus when they've had to find that way to nurture themselves. Well, the Wellness Center has some beautiful reflective spaces as well. So again, there's a lot that Duke offers, and I encourage all incoming freshmen to explore what might come to meaningful to them particularly, as well as what might become meaningful to them through their group and their community use. But it's not just in the typical places you might expect. So you all have kind of touched on this, but I would love to kind of end with this very specific thing. And what is a piece of advice you would give to incoming freshmen, knowing that they are entering a time that no one has in this generation, entering higher education. And so we acknowledge that what you all are going through as freshmen is just unprecedented, and you have a lot of courage and resilience. So we're grateful to have you among us. But I would love to hear what you all have to say. What's something you would say to freshmen, particularly about religious life, if you would like, but also just about as they enter this time. And I'll again let you all just speak up and interrupt each other if you'd like. So.
I think my two bits of advice kind of go hand in hand. And I really like what Catherine said, that like this for freshmen is really unprecedented. And I also want to acknowledge that like having your senior year taken away from you too is also really hard, and not having closure and saying goodbye to your friends there and like your home. And so my first bit of advice would be, don't be afraid to be honest about where you're at and be honest with other people. I remember my second week of Duke, I broke down to a stranger because I was having a really hard experience, and to be able to be vulnerable and have them respond with a lot of love and grace, and just sitting there with me being like, yeah, it is really hard. And if I hadn't been vulnerable in that moment, or if I'd continued to cover it up, I don't think I would have had that friendship that I still have now. So I'd say don't be afraid to be vulnerable and be open with others. And in the same vein, don't be afraid to be uncomfortable, especially now entering spaces where people already know each other is scary, or being the odd one out, having to introduce yourself, like those are scary things. And it's only more scary when you're doing everything virtually, and it's hard to actually form human connections that way, but it's still possible. And I know within Cru, we're still trying to facilitate that and offer those things. I'm sure with all these other great ministries that they are focused on the same thing. But yeah, I am also really confident that you guys will be able to find community this year. Yeah.
Stephanie, I think that's really, really great advice. And to piggyback off of that, I would say take people up on just getting to know someone one-on-one. Like coffee chats are a really big thing for JSU and JLD. So if someone wants to get coffee with you, either in person, 6 feet apart, or virtually, just take them up on that, because you never know who they can then connect you to. And also, I think the hardest thing about everything being virtual is just showing up and just taking that kind of leap. And once you're there, hopefully you'll meet some people, they'll make you feel at home. But the hardest part is just the first step. So I admire everyone who doesn't know anybody and comes onto a Zoom call. I think that's very horrifying. So it's very admirable. And yeah, just try and take a leap of faith.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything that's been said for sure. But one thing I'd add is just whether it's through a faith community or not, just find communities at Duke. This semester it will be virtual mostly, but find communities at Duke that are just to feed your soul. There is time to declare your major. There is time to figure out what you want to do with your life, but you need also things that are for you, because as we've sort of touched on, there's so much work to do. There's a lot of work to do to make this world a better place, whether you're motivated by your faith or not. But in order to do that work, you need to take care of yourself. So I hope you find it through a faith community, but if you don't, find it somewhere.
Yeah, I also just want to say I second every single piece of advice said right now. And in my 2 years at Duke, I feel like I've had to struggle a lot with the myth of effortless perfection and the go, go, go mentality, and the gotta, always be doing something, full Google calendars. And when Duke can kind of facilitate that environment, I really encourage all of you to, as soon as possible, find people who will, whether they're a part of religious life or not, find people who will genuinely care for your soul and ask you questions for you, not for any other thing. And I also want to encourage the incoming freshmen that college is a great time to ask big questions. For those who already have a religious background, ask questions about that. Ask questions about, why do I believe what I believe? What does what I believe have to do with my worldview and how I'm developing that? Colleges, I think, they say it's the most formative years of your life, and I definitely second that. And so I want to encourage all of you to ask those questions, find people who will tackle those hard questions with you. And all these amazing organizations and more are trying really hard to offer our community and to be available for you all. So yeah, take up those offers and go exploring. And I have full faith that you will find people who will continue caring for you and grow with you.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think we're all saying pretty similar things. I just want to share that for me, finding a community was harder coming out of high school, because I left the friends I had known for 12 years of school. So you might have to be a little bit more intentional about finding that community. And religious organizations are a great place to do that. I would also add, if you're on the fence about trying something out versus having a little bit more time for other things, try something out. Attend a Zoom meeting that you're on the fence about, because it's a great way to meet people, and there's a chance you'll love it. So.
I did want to put out there that somebody posted something in the chat. So if you all could, if you're able to, just provide the organizations that you all are a part of. Looks like we might have somebody who's interested in connecting, which I think is great and one of the purposes of this program. So, and I didn't know, Kate, if you had anything you wanted to wrap up with, and then I can transition us.
I was just going to say that also in the chat, there was the question about the virtual fair and the student life fair. And so I know Jordan is working hard on getting something for August 26th. Also on the chapel.duke.edu is a list of all of our religious life groups. There are also, I will also just say, through the Duke student government, there are student groups, for instance, that are not registered as religious life groups, but you can also look over there, like the Sikh Society, the Duke Society. There are student groups that also are connected with religious communities. So chapel.duke.edu will show you our officially recognized religious life groups that have religious life leaders, and there will be contact information there and websites. And if you don't know where to look, contact me, Catherine Lester Bacon, at chapel.duke.edu. You can find my name on the website. So I can connect you with anybody you might be interested in. And and so in terms of people putting their information, they'll put them on in. And if you would like to have any of that, we can also follow up with that. Thanks, Jordan.
No problem. Thank all of you. You are the ones who need thanks. I just had to create a meeting link and send out some emails and make a PowerPoint and ask you for your pictures. So I did actually do some things, but thank you all for being patient and for jumping on with me. Thank you to all the students who are participating and those who will watch this and feel like this can be your home away from home. I can tell you, as somebody who does identify as a Christian, that it's just really nice to have this kind of conversation. I think it's getting more and more difficult because faith is connected to oppression for a lot of communities. And so the ability to have a thoughtful conversation around how your faith identity informs who you are is something we want you to bring with you as you get ready to come and start college. It can certainly inform your values, and most likely has for the first 16 to 18 years of your life. And so don't let that change. There's a lot of good opportunities to do that here, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, like it doesn't matter. I just think the opportunity to be in conversations with people who share similar values is incredibly important to who you are. So thank you to our panelists. Thank you to everyone else. We are gonna wrap up. And if you have any questions, email any of us and we'll be happy to be in connection. And this will be posted on Duke Groups. So if you're wondering where it's going to be posted, we're going to post it on Duke Groups. We've been recording orientation sessions and posting them there. So just log in to dukegroups.com and go to the orientation page and you can get all the info you need. Any final words from anyone? We good?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you all. Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, everybody have a great evening. We get hand claps and everything. You all be safe. Take care. And wash your hands.
Thank you.
Wash your hands. That's important. It's my last piece of advice. Wash your hands.
Thank you. This is great.
Thanks.